We're going to jump right in today and just talk a little bit to Michelle about her experience. Um, Michelle joined the Nutrivention 2 study, but I'm going to just start out and we're going to let Michelle walk us through her experience. While she's doing this, if you guys want to drop in the chat, if you have ever either participated in a clinical trial or a survey through HealthTree, I'd love to just get like a little bit of feedback from you to hear about your experience so that we can tailor today's discussion towards that. So, Michelle, thank you so much for agreeing to share your story today and for joining us.
Thank you for
Um,
having me.
Absolutely. To start it off, could you just tell us a little bit about your smoldering diagnosis, what your symptoms were, what you were experiencing, kind of help us relate to that experience?
Yeah, I actually started having symptoms that just didn't feel normal for me. I've always had a lot of energy, always been very athletic, but I started experiencing a lot of fatigue that was not really usual for me. My hair was falling out, but to be honest, at the time I was really just focused on my hair. So I decided to go to my dermatologist. She ran a very extensive blood panel, and the results showed a few things. TSH was high, an elevated protein in my blood, a very high set rate. From there, I was referred to my primary care doctor. She repeated the test multiple times, at least 3 times, to confirm the results. And from there, I was referred to a hematologist, which I didn't know what a hematologist was. I thought it just dealt with blood, but I soon learned that it had to do with blood cancers. So the hematologist was very confident at first that it was I just had MGUS. So he really explained to me that he was just going to do a biopsy, confirm his findings, and and if that was the case, he was just going to see me once a year. So I wasn't really that worried about it. I had already done some research at that time, and I was familiar with MGUS and multiple myeloma, but I didn't know that there was an in between stage. So when the biopsy came back, he diagnosed me with high risk smoldering, and that alone was a lot to process. After the diagnosis, my symptoms actually got even worse. And about a month later, I was also diagnosed with Sjogren's disease. So hearing all of that in a short period of time was really overwhelming. So then you have the smoldering myeloma, you add autoimmune diagnosis also to it. So it really just changed how I thought about my health. And I wanted to be proactive and take an active role in supporting my body through this.
Thank you so much. I always feel like, though there's common threads that kind of bind all of the different experiences together, everybody comes at that diagnosis maybe just a little bit differently. But I
Hmm.
appreciated that you shared kind of your emotional journey through it as well, just
Hmm.
understanding what you were thinking. So thank you so much for that.
Welcome.
Let's see. There we go. So, with this, you talked a little bit about, really jumping in and learning things about MGUS. I want to transition now and just find out how you first heard about the Nutrivention 2 study and what influenced your decision to participate.
Well, I found out through the website, basically HealthTree website. I was always in it doing the HealthTree University. So I came across the study and I read about it. It stood out to me because it was focused on nutrition and it felt really practical and empowering. I was dealing with multiple diagnoses at the time and looking for ways to eat better, support my health. It was from Sloan Kettering, but it's done remotely. So that attracted me to it. So I filled out the information. I didn't hear anything for about a month or so. And when I eventually got the call saying that I had been selected, I was really excited since it was food-based and, pretty low risk. So saying yes to the study felt really easy to do.
I like that. Thank you so much. I think we talked a little bit about this earlier too. Just eating is one of those things that you do at a minimum. I think most people eat at least 3 times a
You
day,
have to
so it's
feed yourself
something.
every day, right?
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
So we're going to move on to what happened after you joined the study? How did things move along?
Okay.
And actually, if you'll just introduce the study a little bit as well, like what they were looking at and how that participation worked in your life.
So they were looking for people who had smoldering myeloma. The premise of the study was to see the effect of food and diet in the microbiome and how it could prevent uh, smoldering myeloma from progressing and in other types of cancer uh, as well. So to me, that was really interesting because I was in the middle of that diagnosis. So after I joined, things moved along pretty smooth. They paired me with a nutritionist, which was great. And that made a big difference. She really helped guide me through everything from the meal delivery service to using the app to track my food, everything I had to do to get ready for the study to start. So I never really felt like I was doing it on my own. She was very supportive. Her communication was great, and follow up as well was really good. So I felt like it was a partnership.
It's perfect. Um, you talked about the information you received from a nutritionist.
Hmm.
Um, and I think we talked previously that you use that information even past the study. Can you talk a little
Hmm.
bit about that experience?
Yeah, like I was a lot into juicing and I thought I was eating healthy. So they didn't want me to juice. And I thought, well, why not? She said she would rather have me eat the vegetables because it doesn't have as big of a impact on my sugar. So then that helped me make the connection between your insulin spikes and your health as well. So I thought I was eating healthy, but I can make it. I just tweak. It helped me to tweak my diet even more, and I still use those principles today.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I think that this is such a unique study
Hmm.
where it's giving you those extra tools in addition to
Hmm.
that meal delivery. So, with the meal delivery, um, how was that coordinated?
It was really easy. They set it up for me. She actually even picked the meals, and she would send me what was coming. It was breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So I was really happy that I didn't have to think about what I needed to eat. I was able to take the meals with me if I was going to be somewhere else. So that part was really easy. The meals came straight to my door once a week, so I didn't have to do much. And they tasted really good. I actually really like them.
That's perfect. And we kind of
Hmm.
jumped into this one with the
Hmm.
previous slide.
Hmm.
And you said it has affected your life post-study as well, and just your thinking around nutrition. Can you talk just a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm used to taking a lot of supplements. So I was really surprised how real food would replace those supplements that I had been relying on. It really changed how I thought about food and the power of the food when it's used intentionally in your life. I became much more aware, like I said before, of food labels, added sugars. Um, I also learned that, like I said before, foods that were healthy can still contain hidden added sugars, which was a big thing in the study. So that awareness helped me during the study, and it helps me even now.
Perfect. I know you also mentioned the juicing, and one thing that came to mind with the juicing is I know you're able to get a lot more fiber from the whole food versus juicing. And
Yes.
through Dr. Shaw's research, she's definitely looking at the role that fiber plays as well.
Yes. Yes, because you feed the more fiber is it feeds your gut microbiome, from what I understand. So that's really good for you. So yeah, I was surprised to learn that, yeah, not that I was doing anything wrong, but there was an even better way to support your body. Instead of juicing all those vegetables, eat those vegetables.
Perfect. Thank you. So I just wondered if there were any concerns or hesitations you had before joining, and how were those addressed along the way?
Well, my biggest concern was I had to stop all my supplements, including my probiotics. And it was also a vegan diet. I've done plant-based before, but I've never done a vegan diet. I've also always had digestive issues, so that made me really nervous. But my nutritionist really addressed all those concerns one by one by using food to support my digestion, walking me through it. So having that guidance really helped me feel comfortable and supported. And really, I ended up not having, the issues that I thought I was going to have. I ended up not having them because of her help.
Perfect. Would you say that your comfort level changed over time? It sounds like there might have been a little bit of nervousness to begin with, but then as you moved along in the process, did that ease up a bit?
Yeah, and I think the key was the support that I got from the nutritionist from Sloan Kettering and all the communication. Because I could text her at any time during the day, the weekends, whenever, and I always got an answer or a phone call. So
Mhm.
that really made me feel like I didn't really have much to worry about because I had people that if I had an issue, I could call or reach out to, and they would respond right away.
Thank you so much. I think one thing that surprised me, as we were talking prior to the webinar, was that ability to connect with a nutritionist. I know some people look at that, and that's just one more thing to have to think about. So having that built into the study is wonderful.
And it's an expense too, because when I first got diagnosed, I hired a nutritionist, and it's not everybody can afford to do that if it's not covered by the insurance. So having that extra guidance and extra layer to support really was great.
Perfect. So now that your part of the study has concluded, I just want to ask what surprised you most, or what did you learn by joining the study?
What surprised me most was how much better I felt, especially my energy levels. I would say that I was walking like a little bit of a zombie around, just always tired, very, very tired. So I expected to change with the food, but I didn't know it was going to be such a noticeable difference. Even my friends and my family were commenting and they started asking me to what I was doing because they could see that change. So that really reinforced to me the big impact nutrition can have in your health.
It's perfect. So to kind of bring these full circle, I'd like to just ask, what advice would you give someone who is considering joining a trial, this trial or any other trial?
Specifically with this trial, you really have nothing to lose. It's just food. So for me, it was a very positive and empowering experience, especially in a time when so much felt out of my control and it was uncertain. So it really helped me to feel more in control of my health. It gave me tools to carry forward. So I think if you're looking for a way to be proactive and support your body, a study like this is absolutely worth considering. And when with any other study, I would see how much support you're gonna get from whoever's doing the study, because to me that feels like the most important part of it.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I've been reading through the comments in the chat and I've loved, it looks like there have been several people who have participated in clinical trials and different studies. It looks like we've got another person in the chat that also participated in the Nutrivention 2 study. I did want to kind of bring it to light that the Nutrivention 2 study is for MGUS and smoldering myeloma patients. So if there's anybody on the call today that fits in those categories, it is still open to you, but they are looking to close enrollment soon. Um, we'll have some time at the end. I've got Roberto from our team who has helped with enrollment and kind of guiding people through the process. And he is going to be on after and will be able to answer questions. So I want to make sure everyone who's on right now knows that that will be an opportunity a little bit later on in the program. Um, there's a question about diet plans somewhere to follow a similar plan. To that, I know from conversations we've had with Dr. Shaw previously, the two big things she emphasizes is getting enough fiber in your diet and a variety of fruits and vegetables. Um, and since I learned about this, I've tried it a couple of times to get the number of fruits and vegetables in during the week as she suggests. And it's going to sound like a lot, so don't, throw the phone down when you hear this, but she suggests getting 30 different fruits and vegetables every week and 30 grams of fiber daily. Um, I have only been able to do that once, and that is living just a vegetarian lifestyle. But those two things she said really help diversify the gut microbiome. And I will link out in our follow-up email a previous webinar that we've done, but we will get to more information on that later. I also wanted to highlight Dr. Shah is also starting another study for newly diagnosed myeloma patients. This will be her Nutrivention 5 study. We're not directly involved in this study, but if we do have any newly diagnosed patients on that would like to look at similar interventions for newly diagnosed patients, that would be another wonderful possibility. So wanted to highlight all of that. Um, let's see. And I will get to more of the questions in the chat as we go along. But any final words, Michelle? Is there anything else you think people should hear from you about your experience or thoughts that you wanted to end with?
No, but my thoughts, and there's a lot of fear and uncertainty when you get a diagnosis like this. So just live your life. Live your life to the fullest and love the people in your life and in your family. And that's pretty much it. Yeah. Just live your
That's
life.
perfect. Good,
Mhm.
solid advice. Thank you so much. And thank you for being willing to share your experience. I think that, if nothing else, helps again demystify what a clinical trial can look like. So thank you so much. I'd like to introduce Todd. He is going to go ahead and talk to us a little bit about HealthTree Cure Hub, how you can participate in other clinical trials, studies, surveys, and give us some more information there. So, Todd, I'm going to start your first slide here.
All right. Thank you for having me. Hello, everybody. It's great to see you all and be on this call, this meeting with you, and to talk more about clinical trials and research in general. A lot of people don't understand how research works, and so we're going to talk a little bit about that. Um, for research to work, they need data. And it's kind of been ingrained in us that we should protect our data and keep it locked down and never share it and never let anybody see it. And that slows down research and that slows down finding a cure. And at HealthTree, we want to change that. So we've built systems where you can connect your medical records from multiple facilities. We share that information with researchers. It's de-identified, so all of your personal information is removed from that. So, they just see your genetics and treatments. They don't see anything personal about you, but they do see your records from, anywhere that you connect, and they can see your whole story and not just a piece of it. For example, when I was at MD Anderson, the average patient was seeing 3 different doctors. So MD Anderson had about a third of that patient's data, and they were trying to make treatment decisions off of that. And it would have been incredibly helpful for them to have 100% of that patient's data to make treatment decisions from. So just if we go, oh yeah, you're running it. Can you go to the next slide? I'm like, it's not going. So I just wanted to give you some examples about data. So if any of you travel, I'm sure some of you do, and I'm sure when you do, you use an app. And you use that app when you get to the airport to check in your luggage. You use that app to get through security. You use that app to get onto the airplane. And when you get to your destination, the app tells you, where your luggage is, where to get it. And all of your personal information is on that app. And all your travel information is on that app and available, and we don't really think about that very much because it's helpful for us. It helps us. Next one. is another example of how we share our data and don't think about it, because many of us now do our shopping from an app. We put in, the foods we want. Somebody else goes and gets it off the shelf and bags it up for us, and we either go to the grocery store and they put it in our trunk, or some of us even have a complete stranger deliver that food to our house so they know where we live, and they have all the access in the app to our personal information, including our credit card. And we don't think about that very often because it is a time saver for us and it's a benefit for us and it makes our life easier. Next slide is Venmo. I don't know if any of you use Venmo to send money around to family or friends or people that buy something for you, but Venmo is an app and it's actually connected to our bank account where our money is. And it has all of our personal information in it. And we don't think a whole lot about that either. That we've actually connected our bank account to an app that has all our personal information in it. And again, because it makes our life easier. And so it should be that we should have the same mentality with our medical records because we want to find a cure for this. And to do that, we all have to share our medical records so that the researchers can find the data they need. If you can go to the next slide. I want to talk a little bit about a research project that's being done at a University of Miami with Dr. Landgren. And I know this chart at the bottom makes no sense. If you look at that, you're like, I have no idea what I'm looking at. So I'm going to explain this to you. If in the top left side, that rectangle with all the red squares in it, each one of those red squares represents a patient. And if you go across that row, at the end of that row, there's some text that you probably can't read, but that is a genetic change that patient has had. The second row are patients and it's a different genetic mutation or change. So each one of those rows represents an individual patient, and each row represents a genetic change that's happened to that patient in their myeloma. And so he's tracking all that. And then if you look below that, you can see the chart with the yellow and orange and blue colors in it. He's looking at all myeloma treatments, but in this example, I'm just looking at VRD, Velcade, Revlimid, and Dex. So he's looking at newly diagnosed patients that were given VRD, and if the colors are yellow or orange, VRD did not work for that patient. It did not improve their myeloma. It stayed the same or made it worse, and they had to change treatments. If the colors are blue, VRD worked for that patient. So now he's able to look at VRD and the patients in the blue colors and then go up to that chart above and see which genetic mutations they had. And he's starting to find out if you have this genetic change A, VRD works for it. If you have genetic change B, VRD does not work for that. And he's going through all, there's 50 or more different combinations of myeloma treatments that you can receive when you're newly diagnosed. And he's going through every one of those and determining which one works best with the genetic change that you have, so that it's not a guessing game anymore. So, when you're diagnosed, so many times it's like, well, let's start with VRD because it's the most common. You go for 3 months, you go through those side effects, come back, there's been no change. Okay, well, that didn't work. Let's try a different one. He's trying to get rid of that guessing game. He wants to be able to say, this is the treatment that I know will attack your genetic mutation. And once he's done with this, he'll publish this information so it's available to all doctors, so that they have that information at their hands and know which treatments are best for your genetic changes. So hopefully now that chart makes a little bit more sense. And this is one reason why it takes all of us. What he's got here and what he's done so far, he told us would have taken him 10 years to get to the point that he's at right now, because he would have only had access to patients at University of Miami. So to get to number the patients that are participating in his study would have taken him 10 years. Anybody want to guess how long we've been working with him on this study? We've been working for about 14 months. So we've erased 9 years of research time by working together and by patients coming together and connecting their medical records and actually sending slides. He wants your biopsy slides so he can look himself to see exactly what your mutations are. Dr. Langren can't go to any hospital and say, hey, send me the slides you got. They're not going to do it. But through HealthTree, patients join our study, they give us the consent, and then we go to the hospital and say, will you send this person's slide to Dr. Landgren? Here's the consent. And then the hospital sends it to him. So that's how he's able to get thousands and thousands of more patients that he would otherwise have no access to. And that's how he erased 9 years of research time doing this study. And so that's how you can help yourself, you can help others in the future, and you can help us find a cure. So hopefully that makes sense. I don't know if anybody has any questions around that. Um, it is a little blurry, I know, but hopefully the explanation, I'm looking in the comments field. I'm trying to get a better slide of this that's not so blurry, but hopefully at least you can see the red areas and the blue and the orange and the yellow areas and understand a little bit what that means. And hopefully you can understand how he was able to erase 9 years of time. That's a lot of years of research time that is gone. It isn't needed anymore. And that's a big deal. So next slide. Just so far, studies like what I just talked about, we've done 258 of these surveys and studies with over 124,000 patients that have participated in them. I've seen in the comments, some of you have said, I've participated in some of your surveys. We've worked with 150 myeloma researchers. It normally takes us 6 to 8 weeks to recruit patients to the studies, and the average study time is 9 to 18 months. So remember, Dr. Landgren said if he did it on his own, what he was doing would have been 10 years. Our average time to complete a study is 9 to 18 months. We've got 15,000 patients in our system right now, and over 80 million data points from the medical records that patients have shared with us. So I don't know if you're nervous or scared about sharing your medical information. What HealthTree, our stance on that is it is your medical information. It's not the hospital's information. It's not HealthTree's information. It's yours. You should be able to do what you want with your medical information. If you want to share it, that's great. If you don't feel comfortable, we completely understand and respect that. But to get to a cure faster, it involves all of us coming together and sharing our medical information so that the researchers have the data they need to do the research that they're doing. I don't think, is there another slide or is that the last one?
That was it for slides. So
Okay.
thank you so much, Todd. We've got questions that are coming in. The first one I want to just quickly address. There were questions about where you could locate some of these different studies. And I pulled up our active research projects. I'm going to just share that on my screen right now. So if you go to healthtree.org and you click on this research link right here, and click on active research, it will bring you to this page right here. So you can see up here at the top that bispecific antibody study that I was talking about. You've got the one that Todd highlighted with Dr. Langren. With this one with Dr. Langren, again, if you are interested in participating, our patient navigators will make this seamless for you. It's going to be a situation where they will help get those slides to Dr. Langren We don't want you to have to work at this. We want you to help be one of those red dots to help everybody in the future, and even you, possibly with future treatments, knowing exactly what's going to work best for you. And then here's the Nutrivention 2 study. So I'm going to drop all of those in the chat so everybody has those. Um, but, and then we'll just open it up for questions. So I'm going to just come back to our slides. Actually, we're going to just stop sharing because that way we can just talk around. But if you want to come off mute and ask your question, I'm going to just start at the top and get through as many questions as we can. But the first one that I saw is, let's see, to Michelle, was the nutritionist Francesca, or did you participate with other people as
No,
well?
Francesca. Yeah, she was
Okay,
great.
she's amazing. She's
Yeah.
He is
such a great
amazing.
person.
Yeah.
Perfect. And I answered a little bit about the question for the diet plans. As that research comes out, I'm sure there will be even more information available as well. But if you start with those principles about trying to diversify your gut microbiome, I think those are helpful. And we'll continue giving updates from the study and information that we can as it becomes available. Um, and if anybody wants to come off mute and ask a question verbally, you can go ahead and click the raise hand icon. It should be down at the very bottom of your screen. Love to answer those questions live. Mary, do you want to go ahead and ask a question live?
Hi, thank you so much. Michelle, thank you for sharing your story. It was wonderful to hear.
Thank you.
And Todd, we talked initially when I got the diagnosis. I was a little hesitant because of just my work background of giving over records. And I'm so glad I did. I decided to do it. It's just going to be helpful when I see a specialist. But Michelle, I just had a question. Did I hear you say that you were plant-based before and then you went vegan? Did I hear that or
No, I've always, gone from meat eater to plant-based,
okay.
but I've never been a vegan before. It just sounded, it wasn't something that I even thought about. So
Hmm.
I was just a little nervous when they told me I was a vegan diet. But then once they told me they would provide all the food,
Hmm.
that really put me at ease because I wasn't going to have to think about what ingredients,
Right.
what products I needed to buy. So it was way better than I thought. And the food was really, really good.
Okay. And are you practicing the same thing now, or are you just
No,
kind
so
of
I went back, I kept it up for 6 months and then
okay?
slowly went back to eating meat,
Okay.
but I can tell definitely the difference. So
Okay.
I'm in the process of going back to plant-based right now.
Okay. All right. Because I
Yep.
was making the switch because I was never really married to food. I didn't really care to meat. I
Yeah.
didn't really care about meat very much. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's kind of been an
The
easy
one
transition.
Yeah, and the one thing that I do is when I am plant-based, I do eat fish.
Okay.
Like salmon, cod, and things like that. But I try to stay away then from meat. And for me, it makes a big difference.
Yeah, perfect. Because I've suffered from anemia, so I know about the tiredness and all of that. So it's
Yes.
great. And again, thank you so much for sharing. It's just been extremely helpful.
Oh, thank you.
And thank you, Mary, for asking that question. And she highlighted something that we didn't mention before, just in that question. It sounds like, Todd, you've had the chance to talk to Mary. Todd does this all the time, and we are actually talking about it in office. We get to overhear Todd just helping patients understand their medical records. So sorry, I'm gonna mute real quick. Todd, could you just talk a little bit about Todd time?
Todd time. Yeah, internally we call it Todd time. Um, but yeah, patients can, there's a link where patients can sign up on my calendar for a half hour meeting, and we talk about whatever they want to talk about. It's kind of their meeting. And a lot of patients don't understand genetics, don't understand what the blood values mean, or what they should be looking for or not, what doesn't matter, what does matter, and all of that, what genetics are high risk or low, just lots of different questions. Everybody has different questions or different needs, and it's their meeting, so they tell me what they're really looking for or interested in. And we talk about those things. And some of the things, I am not clinical. I mean, I've worked in healthcare for 20 years, but I'm not like more on the hospital administration side of things. So if I run into things I don't know, that's when I generally say, try to see if people will connect their medical records. And then I can have our doctor, because we do have doctors on staff who will go through and validate the records and validate the information that it's correct, because it's not always correct. We find errors a lot of the times. Sorry, mute all my phone stuff. We do find errors. Like, it's crazy. The CPT codes they use, the numbers must be similar between a bone marrow biopsy and a stem cell transplant, because we see a lot of patients who in their record it shows a stem cell transplant, but it was actually a bone marrow biopsy. So then, we see that, we change it in HealthTree, and then we tell you, hey, go tell your care team on this date they've put the coding in wrong, and make them fix it, because that information makes a difference. It matters. So we do find errors, and we let you know about that. I need to turn this all off. And then once our doctor does go through the validation process, if you're interested in that, we will. I'm sorry, I'm turning off my thing so people quit bugging me, or quit stop hearing my phone ring. We can have a meeting with a doctor, and they can go into more detail in some of that stuff as well. So I've since March is when I started doing this, and the Todd time appointments. I've talked to almost 400 people since March, 400 individuals since March on this. I'm also meeting with the International Myeloma Foundation support groups, and I've talked to about 800 people through the IMF support groups about all of this as well. So I've talked to a lot of people this year, and tried to help them in that way. So yeah, if any of you have questions, connect your records. And I see a comment in here from Dorothy, I think, wondering if she should connect primary care records. I would connect with every facility that you go to if possible, because that data does go to researchers, and for them to see your whole story instead of just a piece of it is vital for them in their research. So even though it's your primary care, if it's helpful for them to know that you've had 12 infections, and why is that, and looking at the drugs you've had or whatever, they're piecing things together. There's doctors looking at vaccinations, like after stem cell transplant. Did you get childhood vaccinations after, or did you not? There's a study on that, and they found out that if you don't get the childhood vaccinations, your risk of infection is much higher. There's a lot more pneumonia and colds that those patients get that those that do get the vaccination don't get. And there's more doctors taking that vaccination research and going even a deeper dive in it. So it is important to connect everything you can. There are some care centers or hospitals that we don't have electronic connections with yet, but we do with a majority of them. So if you're able to connect them all, it's helpful for the researchers. And having it there in HealthTree, if you were to go look at a clinical trial in HealthTree, the clinical trial looks at your medical information in the system, and that's how it matches you to a trial. So if you didn't connect a hospital or whatever, you could get matched to a trial and think you qualify for it when you really don't, because there's some missing information. So for the matching purposes that exist in HealthTree, having your whole record there is super important.
That is so perfect. Thank you so much, Todd. That actually leads into a question that came up in the comments. So what Todd was talking about is, if you were to look for a clinical trial, if you just went to clinicaltrials.gov, I don't know if anybody on the call has tried that. It's insane. It is so full. There are so many clinical trials to choose from. And trying to decipher what they're looking for, what the criteria looks for on your own. I'm a nurse. I have a hard time making it make sense. So I can only imagine just all these added layers that it would be to do that on your own. So if you do connect your medical records, you are able to use our AI clinical trial finder. One of the questions came up is just around studies on treatment for smoldering myeloma patients and Darzalex Fast Pro. And that would be a very, very simple search within HealthTree Cure Hub, and it would say instantly if you either were a good match for that trial or not. So, um, do you have that up, Todd? Could you just show people what that might look like?
On the clinical trials.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
And we can give you a second if you need a moment, and I can look at some other questions. Oh, you're too fast. Perfect.
Yeah. So if you go to healthtree.org, you'll see the menu here. You'll have to create an account, but if you Cure Hub is right here, and if you click on Cure Hub and then just click sign in or join, and it brings you to this section. Down here at the very bottom on the left-hand side, this is where you connect your medical records. It's super easy to do. I don't know how many of you know how to do that. Maybe I'll just show you real quick because it is so fast. But I don't want to do it in this account. Let me go, I'll do that in a second. Let me go back to clinical trials. So clinical trials is looking at under track my disease is where you're going to see all the information that comes in when you connect your medical records. You'll see all your labs, your genetics, your imaging, your treatment history, all that comes in and you can look at it here. That's another reason why people like Cure, if you're going to multiple places, you don't have to log into multiple portals to see your labs. You can log into one and see them all combined. But so the clinical trials looks at all that and it does all this matching with AI, and you can see that an excellent match means I meet all the criteria. If you get down here, strong match. So there's something in there I don't meet the criteria for. You can click on that trial and it will show you you have to have been diagnosed with anemia and kidney disease to participate in this trial. But you can see all the with the green check marks, you meet all the other criteria. So you can click on these trials and see what the criteria is, and know that what it's looking for and that you're meeting that. And it tells you some of the drugs that are being used, the locations. If you find a trial you're interested in, generally doctors don't have time to do all this research, so they don't do it. So what I tell patients to do, if you see this trial over here, this NCTID number right here that I'm highlighting, hopefully you can see it. If you send this NCT number to your doctor, go to the portal. If you find 1 or 2 or 3 trials, send your doctor those 3 numbers and say, I'm interested in my next appointment talking about these trials. Can you please look at them? Most of them will go and look at those before your appointment so that you can have a conversation with your doctor about the trial. And you may say, this is a really bad trial, and give you the reasons why. Or you may say, I'm so glad you found this. This is better than what the treatment was that I was considering. I think you absolutely should join this trial. I hear all the different stories from different patients from, don't do this to this is incredible. Yes, do this. So, you can go in and look at them that way. You can also, there's a search criteria here. So whatever state you're in, we're in Utah, so you can type in your state and it'll narrow the search down to trials in your state. We went from, I don't know what it was, 80 something to 17. And then you can type in your city. And it'll narrow it down even further. If you know, if you're someone that can't travel, you can find trials that are where you are. If you can travel, or you know, an hour or two drive is an option for you, you can broaden the search a little bit to other cities or potentially other states, and that is something very common that people do. So you can kind of use this tool to see. I mean, clinical trials are treatments, you know, and they're. I want to say that hopefully all of you know this, but you never, ever, ever get a placebo on a clinical trial. So don't think you're getting a sugar pill or something or a placebo on a clinical trial. You're not. Whatever the trial is, it's usually comparing other drugs to standard of care drugs. So you'll get the standard of care no matter what. If you get into the part of the trial that is testing the new drug, then you'll get the standard of care drugs along with the new drugs. So that's a big misconception. When I was at MD Anderson, so many people, they either thought I would get a placebo, and I don't want that because I have cancer. I want some sort of treatment. Or they think clinical trials are only when you have no other options, and you have 2 weeks to live. It's the last resort, and that is not the case either. This is how we're finding the new drugs that are going to help you live longer and eventually cure myeloma. So I don't know, questions around that?
No, I think that's perfect. Some questions came up as you were talking. People are wondering how they can get some Todd time. Would you be okay if we share a link in the follow-up?
Yeah. Actually, right when you wanted me to talk about clinical trials, I was going in to get my link to put it in the chat. So
Perfect.
I'll do that now. I got to go get it, but I'll add the link and you just click on it. It shows you my calendar time availability. You can compare that with your time, or you know, when you have time that's available. And it schedules a time on our calendars, and on my calendar, on your calendar. It is a Google Meet. It's not a phone call. Some people think it's a phone call, so I do want to make you aware that it is a Google Meet. I think I just put it in the chat, right? To go to the right place.
Did it go to everyone? Let's see.
I'm not seeing all the
Uh,
chats, so I feel like I'm in the wrong place.
are you in the Q&A maybe instead of chat?
No, I clicked on chat. It says chat. You don't see it? I see a hi Todd. Can you do a clinical trial from Europe? And then underneath that, I put the link to my calendar.
That might be a personal message. So in the chat, if you do
Uh,
the
oh yeah, I didn't do
perfect.
everyone. Okay, Caroline, you have access to my calendar and no one else does.
It's
I'll
perfect.
add I'll add that in. So now that's in the everyone chat. You should see that now. Um, and yes, Caroline, there are clinical trials in Europe. There are clinical trials all around the world, even in Africa. I didn't know that. I was talking to someone in Africa about a month ago, and we found a clinical trial in Africa for her. So they are all over the world. So you can find them. You can put in, you know, search for locations and find them wherever they are.
Perfect. I think one other thing that just came up is just the ease of um, adding your records. There's a question just about
So
how what that looks like.
yeah, let me go back in. Just a second. I need to.
Perfect. We
I
wanted
need
to make this as interactive as possible. And while Todd's pulling that up, if you do have any questions about the Nutrivention 2 trial, you can either add those to the chat. I see Roberto has been answering those as they came along. But if you have anything you want to ask live, again, feel free to raise your hand, or we'll just keep following along in the chat. Okay, Marie, go ahead.
Yeah, I just have a comment. Can you hear me?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, I just have a comment. I just wanted to share this with you, just in reference to, people being reluctant. I think it's really important that people are given information, take it the time and given information about what it means in terms of sharing and the
Mm,
benefits of sharing. Because I was reluctant at first, and I don't feel like that was something that when it was explained to me, it wasn't something that was comforting. But then once I joined HealthTree and found out and thought about it, then I decided that it would be something that I would do. So that's also important in terms of how we talk to, prospective people and to get them to participate. Thank you.
yeah, I appreciate that, Marie. Was there something in a conversation with somebody that helped allay your fears, or what helped make that transition for you?
I guess it just was really talking about the need for that information and how it was going to be used and how it would help in terms of coming up with a cure
Mm,
versus just saying, yes, it's your information. You have a right to do this or do that. Yeah.
Okay.
thank you. That is perfect. I
So,
feel like that's one of the things that seeing Dr. Langren's study did for me. Every time Todd pulls that up on any of our presentations, it just, I don't know, I get goosebumps. The fact that he is looking that closely to make things better for people who are being treated currently, but also people who will get diagnosed in the future. So thank you, Marie, for that. We appreciate that.
yeah.
Looks like Todd's got that pulled up. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. I just needed to get into a test account so that it
Perfect.
wasn't showing real information. So
Thank you.
yeah, Cure Hub up here, like I said, and then if you click on this little green area, sign in or join, it'll bring you here. In this bottom left-hand corner, it says Connect Medical Records, and that's where you go to connect your medical records. Um, Intermountain Health is in Utah. I've connected there. All you do is click on Add New Connection and type in the name of your facility that you go to. In Utah, the academic cancer center is Huntsman Cancer Center. You can type in city and your doctor's name if you want. You don't have to. We put that in there because if you're going to somewhere like St. Luke's, there's 100 St. Luke's around the US and your list is going to be long. So that's just a way for you to narrow your list down if you want to. But if you put the name of your facility you're going to, what did I type in? Oh, center cancer. I wanted Huntsman cancer. So, and continue with that. You can see where it brings up Huntsman Cancer Hospital. So it'll bring up whatever hospital you're going to. If I click on that, um, I need the Zoom thing out of my way. I'm gonna skip this because I'm gonna tell you what this is telling you. This is just explaining to you what's gonna happen. What's gonna happen is when you click continue, we're actually going to leave HealthTree and we go now to Huntsman Cancer Center's My Chart system. So we are now in the Huntsman EHR system, and it's going to ask for your username and your password. And this information does not come back to us, so we don't know your username and password. And when you sign in, it's going to, oh, I got to do the two-factor authentication. Hang on a sec. they, let's see, 909 236. Um, it's recognizing that you're going to send your information to somebody else. So it's telling you you're going to give access to HealthTree to your medical information. HealthTree is not going to sell your data. HealthTree will not share your data without your permission. HealthTree will not market your data or gain insights into your family or it'll tell you what we will and won't do with your data. When you click continue, it shows you what data will come in. So really everything will come in except for your billing information. We won't get your credit card information or we won't know anything about what you do or don't owe on your bills, but everything else comes in. If you're on an Epic health record system, they ask you how long do you want this connection to stay in place? We suggest 3 months so that you don't have to keep redoing this connection over and over and over. If you're on another medical record system like Cerner or Flatiron or CareSpace or some of those, they just keep it connected forever until you remove it from CureHub. They put it in your hands to delete it when you want to delete it. Epic makes you log in every 3 months. When you say allow access, that is now you've given your consent. We're going to leave Huntsman and come back to HealthTree. And it's going to ask you, do you have another facility to connect? And you can say, yeah, connect to another care center, or you can say close. And now you see Huntsman Cancer Center shows up here and it's connected and it's in process of downloading the information to HealthTree. Depending how much data you have, and depending how many people are trying to download data all at once, that's what determines how long it'll take. We have to kind of queue things up or it tends to crash systems. We've actually crashed hospital systems because we had so many people downloading data at the same time. So we have to control that. So it can take 5 minutes and sometimes it can take up a half hour, 45 minutes. Just depends how much data and how many people are in the queue ahead of you that are downloading data. But that's all you do to connect your medical records. It's really simple. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do want to say that I shared some examples of ways you're already sharing your personal information that we really don't think about. They are secure. And I want to tell you that HealthTree, our database, is as secure as your hospital's database. It's as secure as your banking database. We use all the same technology that they use and all the same strategies that they use to keep it safe. It's actually being monitored 24/7 for hackers and to detect hackers and to kick them out of the system. The database is encrypted and so that if someone were to get to the database, it'd look like a bunch of garbage. And they would have to find our keys that we have hidden in different places. There's multiple keys that they'd have to find to unencrypt that database. So it's as secure as can be, as any other place is, in terms of keeping that secure. And like I said, we do share it with researchers, but no personal information is ever shared. If they do need to know something personal, we will reach out to you and get your permission first. We do sometimes do research with pharmaceutical companies. We will never give any of your data to a pharmaceutical company without you knowing and actually signing consent first. And we'll inform you what the research is they're doing, and you can decide if you want to participate in that or not. So a lot of people sometimes are nervous about the security of that. And so I just wanted to address that real quick as well. And sorry, Cindy, I'm taking a lot of your time and we're
No,
going over time.
you are good. We had just one last question, and it kind of fits in the same vein. Is it useful for us to upload results and records that we're okay with sharing other than giving full access? So while you were presenting how to connect your records, one thing there is you can deselect. If there are things that you don't feel comfortable sharing, you just deselect it. We don't get that information.
Correct. Yeah. All the
Perfect.
systems will give you the option of unselecting something that you may not want to share. And if we're doing a research project and you meet the criteria for that, but we're missing that one piece of information you didn't want to share, we'll probably reach out to you and say, hey, this research project's going on. You meet all the criteria, except you chose not to share this one little piece of information. Would you be willing? And like I said, it's your data. It's not our data. You have every option in the world to say yes or no, and we will think nothing negatively or poorly about you if you say no. That's perfectly fine with us. But you do have some control there of exactly what data you want to come over. The main data we need is the clinical data. Like some of it in there is family history, maybe we don't need that as much, but
Absolutely. Well, I hope everybody today got just a taste of how you can participate in clinical research and how you can work through HealthTree to find clinical trials that you may be eligible for, and also what we can help you with within CureHub and through Todd Time, and also just that patient perspective that Michelle shared. I'm so grateful that she was able to join today and share that perspective. So thank you both so much for that. I want to go ahead and we'll close out. But anybody who wants to stay on and talk to Roberto about Nutrivention 2, you can go ahead and stay on, and I will end the recording before we open that up. I go. Oops, I gotta do one thing here. Okay, perfect. All right.
Thank you
So
all
I
for
just
the nice comments. I'm reading all the thank yous from you all. We appreciate it. You're all very kind.
Yes, thank you guys so much. And anybody who left a comment in the chat that needs follow-up, we will address those as well. So thank you guys again. So just wanted to pull that bispecific antibody study back up on the screen. So if you are on any of those medications or have been on any of those medications, please consider joining that study. I will put that in the follow-up email. And these are just a few of our upcoming events. So this coming Tuesday, February 3rd at 1 p.m., we have our bi-monthly financial Q&A. You can pre-submit questions, or if there's a question that comes to mind during the event, you'll have the opportunity to ask those as well. We've got some new events. They're called Gather Community Events. We have a Gather Community event for our newly diagnosed patients, myeloma patients, on February 4th at 4 p.m. Eastern. And then another one for our PCL community at 3 p.m., plasma cell leukemia.
Check the mail.
I
No, I
go.
can hardly see.
Oops.
Oh.
Oops, and I apologize. We've got some noise here. I'm gonna mute, and then we will get to our live Q&A where you can just stay on and ask those questions. We would like to thank Pfizer and Johnson for sponsoring today's program. And lastly, I've got my email up there on the screen. So if you do have any questions that we didn't address, please email me, cynthia@healthtree.org. I would love to connect. And with that, I'm going to stop the recording and we will